Hey guys, it is the Indy Mayhem Show. I'm Mike Sorgat, Sorgatron on the Twitter here in Pittsburgh, PA. This is the show where we talk about people in and around independent professional wrestling. And we've been hitting some big topics here lately, and that is continuing, of course, with our guest today. But first, please go check out everything at indiewrestling.us, wrestlingmayhemshow.com. That's where you can find this and past interviews and other podcasts and other great products and a lot of people that we talk with on the show you can see in action thanks to indiewrestling.us, whether it be the 24-hour feed over on Twitch, YouTube, clips, full matches, or over at indiewrestling.network. I encourage all of you guys to subscribe to all those things, including this podcast on your favorite podcatcher as well. If you are joining us live, if you're seeing this later, you're listening it later, if you like the conversation we have going on, please hit that share button. Please review if you're on iTunes or Google Podcasts, and or if you're watching this on Facebook, hit a watch party and join in the conversation and share the conversation there as well. With me today, we have, and he has recently been on the show, probably about a month or so ago in our quarantine hangouts, back on the show. He came to me with the topic that he wanted to talk about on the show. Seemed like the right time for it. Drake Braddock back with us again.
Greetings and salutations, Indy Mayhem Show. How are you?
Welcome back. Welcome back. So, you had a topic you presented to me about talking with I know this is another podcast, but we named this one "Wrestling with Depression." But it seems to fit pretty squarely on this. So talk us a little bit about this. Why did you think now was the good time to talk about depression around professional wrestling?
I think it was a really good time, not just because a lot of people have lost their jobs, but independent wrestling right now is at an absolute standstill.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of them were trying to get back into things, but some of you, ladies and gentlemen out there, are not working. Mm-hmm. And it could put you through a lot, because if you're just starting out, like, you've built up this character, you've built up this persona, and you've built up this presence on social media, and then there's no payoff for the show, And the only thing you have right now is you are basically 9 to 5 on your computer, doing social media, selling your merchandise and things like that. And it could, if you're doing well, like some guys, like I'll plug him, Lee Moriarty, doing very well. Buy his T-shirts, buy all the Pittsburgh guys' T-shirts, please, for the love of God. But if you're a guy who is really struggling with social media and struggles with things like, oh, what do I say? What do I do? It can really, really tear you up. And if you're a guy or a girl out there who's starting out, it's just hard. I think it's really hard right now. So I'm sure there's a lot of indie workers right now who are probably going through that. Maybe not want to talk about it. And I was like, I have no problem talking about it. So it was probably right after I heard about Hanakamura and such. And at 22, God rest her soul, and to hear that it was cyberbullying was just, pardon my French, it's bullshit. It's really hard. There's a lot of positivity that comes from wrestling, and it should stay there. I got nothing else right now. Things like that just heartbreak me,
Absolutely. And you told me, you have your own kind of, you've battled with this as well. And we thought maybe like the best thing was to kind of go through that and have you tell your story about this as well. I didn't know this was something that you dealt with myself. I mean, I always see you are one of the most high energy individuals I see come through the curtain and yell squarely in the middle of our camera lens about every show.
I break that fourth wall.
You break the fourth wall and right into somebody's living room, it seems.
Oh, man. So we got that's as Ryan Reynolds said, fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break, 16 walls. I don't know. But it's this was even before wrestling. This was even before I started wrestling, struggling with depression. Everyone has their demons they're dealing with. I'll go. I'm about to go a little dark, folks, because it's one of many stories. But I came from a home where my brother passed away at 15. My sister was using drugs, and my parents weren't handling it well. So I always felt like I was the last hope, in a family. But my family always did their best in that situation. And my outlet started in theater and stage combat and fight choreography, things like that. And when that went away, because it was a lot of the work was, hey, you have to get up and you have to move now. And it wasn't just like, oh, you go to a show for the weekend, then you're done. No, it was like, hey, you have to move. You have to get this temp job 9 to 5, and then you go rehearse, for 7 shows a week, twice on Sunday. And I couldn't do that. I had a family. I had a family to start and such. So I had some temp work. I moved to Indianapolis, got married, and I had some temp job, and it was god awful. And I'm like, I need something better. So moved to Pittsburgh and started teaching martial arts. And from there, I will drop his name because I owe my career to this man. Chris LaRusso was like, why don't you do a tryout for pro wrestling? Go to PWX, and they liked me for a bit, and parted ways from there. Started getting work at Black Diamond, things like that. And when Rise came about, mind you, I'm going like a mile a minute right now. I'm just excited to get the story out. It was probably around after I broke my collarbone, which something I don't talk about too much, but they said like the bone did this and it started like doing a cha-cha slide. And
so your collarbone like rotated around itself where it broke?
It was during the match. Like I was wrestling Kato and did a drop kick, took a fall, and I'm like, whew, all right, well, it's still in place, everything's good. And then did something. It was I took a face bump, and I felt it break completely. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad. I felt like from my neck down to like my chest just went numb. And he puts me in a headlock, and he's like, you okay? And I said, I think I broke my collarbone, sir. And he's like, do you want to go on? And Drake was like, yeah, let's go on. I think we can do this. But me, I was like, is this worth it right now? And Kato, God love him, he made a good decision. Rolled me up 1, 2, 3. I ran across the street to the hospital, and the doctor said, wow, like, you're lucky. I'm like, why? He says, well, it almost hit your subclavian, and that's a big main artery right there. So if it hit that, yeah, it may not be here right now. But they gave me a bunch of pain pills. They put me in a sling, and they said, hey, you're going to probably be in this for about 10 to 12 weeks, and you shouldn't be wrestling or doing anything. And I'm like, but I'm a teacher. Like, I have to do something. They sent me on my way. I came back to the show, and Quinn Magnum said, what's up? What's going on? I'm like, well, I broke it completely. I don't know what to do. Does you want to go out there and do a promo? I'm like, yeah. Mind you, I'm on Percocet, so I was like, yeah, sure, okay.
Oh no.
And I think it was good. It was very much fall down 7 times, get up 8, and promo. And that's where Yes Sir started. Just from there, that's when Depression's Ugly Head kind of rolled again, where I'm like, hey, you're not wrestling, and you're teaching kids martial arts with one arm, and that was rough. That was a really rough period because I had nothing. And then as I healed up in 4 weeks. I was told you're not supposed to do anything for 10 to 12, but I healed in 4, and they said, hey, you should go to physical therapy. And I'm like, nope, can't afford it, and I have a gym right here. So, yeah.
I want to put that into some context here too, because I mean, I think you demonstrated a couple things that we talked about several times on this and the other show with wrestlers, like this idea of you're injured, you want to keep going. Obviously, Kiddo made the call for you, you know, and this early healing that seems to happen a lot. You know, was this a matter that it just seemed to heal and was good enough ahead of schedule, or you know, was it? Do you think you kind of jumped that a little bit and maybe you know, hit it at like 80% and not 100 when you came back?
I think when I came back, if I was at 100%, yeah, it was probably at like 95.
Okay.
There was probably a lot of rust there, but every day I was like, I'm gonna make sure every single day I prove them wrong that I'm not going to be healed in 10 to 12. I'm going to do it in 4. So every day it's like, what can I do around the house? What can I do to exercise? I can squat. Yep. I can do sit-ups. I can do this. Like 3 of the 4 limbs were just running overtime. And it just kept me going. Like, and I made it a full-time job to just make sure I kept focused, and because if there was ever a moment where I was sitting down and it was in my thoughts, you would just dive in that hole. And it's not a fun place. It's not a fun place. But yeah, I treat it every day like day 0. I'm going to do something new every single day. I'm going to get stronger every single day. And when I came back, it was a lot of just my training kind of plateaued. And came back to, it was the Berg Brawl. Years foggy. Doesn't matter. I came back to Berg Brawl, and they said, hey, you're going to win it. Like, oh, awesome. Cool. And with everything that goes on in wrestling, there's a lot of story changes, storylines and such, where do you fit and everything. And when you're told one storyline, and this happens every day, when it happens all the time in wrestling, when you're told one storyline and you get another, are you happy with it? Not sure. But I was always a guy who did business. I did not matter about the storyline. If someone said, hey, we're not going to do this now, we're going to do it. We're not going to do X, we're going to do Y. We're not going to do Y, we're going to do Z. You know, just it's how it goes sometimes. And that's another struggle. Like, because I'm never a person who is going to raise a fuss. You know, I love wrestling. It doesn't matter if I'm wrestling in front of 200 or 2,000 people. It doesn't matter. Like, I love wrestling, and that's all I got there.
Absolutely. So I mean, you know, and that's kind of the roller coaster, right? Is kind of like, you know, that your place on the card, you know, getting to the show, getting knocked off with an injury. You know, it sounds like it's kind of a roller coaster, like day to day, month to month, of where you're at with it.
Yes, it always is. Like, because as you are, as you're like prepping your match, you have it. Some wrestlers may have a tendency to go like, okay, I'm prepping. You'll have this preconceived notion of, oh, you know, if I do this, it's going to take me down this trail of breadcrumbs, which is going to get me to the Rise Grand Championship. Yay! Like, but it may not go that way. Like, and it may be this trail of breadcrumbs takes you to like a really fantastic storyline, which sometimes is even better than like being the champion. You know, and I think that's what I like about wrestling too, is sometimes it's not about being the champion, it's about being remembered. It's about just, sorry, train of thought is derailing. sometimes it's better to be, if you look at certain guys like Axel Jimmy Duggan, Roddy Piper, guys who didn't hold the heavyweight title, are they remembered? Absolutely. So while you are dealing with your match, and you're dealing with, when's my next booking, and then you're dealing with, okay, I have to travel here, and you're dealing with, I have to handle my health plan, I have to make sure I have my checklist of self-care and such, I have to keep rehabilitating my injuries, and I have to work through new injuries. So I think every wrestler out there is juggling those balls all at the same time, and sometimes there's very little payoff with that, which can really drag you down, and sometimes there's a big payoff, like sometimes you're working a bunch of matches and you're like, oh man, I don't know, you feel like you're plateauing, and then you get a phone call from someone who says, hey, they're doing extra work for AEW. Are you free? You bet your ass I'm free. So yeah, and it's and those little moments where you're just like, when you think wrestling is, you're just like, oh man, I feel like I'm not doing it. You expect so much from yourself, and when you think wrestling is like, okay, this is as good as it's gonna get, like an opportunity knocks. So I'm sure maybe there's fans out there, maybe there's wrestlers out there who, have you gone through that? Has anyone gone through that moment of like, you've gone from year to year to year to year and nothing has happened, and then you have that moment like, hey, we need some security guards for TNA. You in? Like, and that's when it's pro wrestling is a very weird addiction. To close on that sort of note there.
So we, like I was telling you before, we just had our conversation with Robert Parker Williams, referee Bobby Williams, and Glenn Spector, two guys that have been around for a long, long time in pro wrestling. Glenn, of course, exited several years ago, and done some pretty look at some Glenn Spector matches and see who's been up against. Pretty much a who's who of the people you've watched over the last 15 years coming through Pittsburgh that he's taken on. So they talked about this concept, and maybe because you're at this different point of the career than they are talking about this kind of and it was in the vein of talking about what happened with Devil Budokan, of course, of course, with that whole situation. There's this concept of like, kind of, you're in the indies, you're doing what you're doing, you're whatever that is, whether you're at Full Tilt or wherever, and there's like this thing that gets stuck in your head, it sounds like, where maybe I don't go any further than this. Maybe this is the peak of it, and it sounds like it's something that Bobby dealt with, it's something that Glenn dealt with. Like, it becomes this crippling thing for just everything at that point. Is this kind of one of those things that you found yourself kind of running into?
Oh, absolutely. When I was in Rise, especially, because there is not only an amazingly talented group there. Every one of that roster is amazing. But they're not just great in the ring. That is by far the best locker room in Pennsylvania wrestling. Not Pittsburgh wrestling, but Pennsylvania wrestling, because everyone there shakes their hand. Everyone shakes your hand. Everyone says hi. Everyone gives you a hug. If you have not received a hug from Keith Hott, then you are not living, my friend. Like, he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing, and everyone is just glowing. And there is always, like, when we get our call and everyone sits down and talks about what to do, it's so uplifting. And to not have that right now is like, it's just gets me. But with that, like, the matches I had there, I always loved opening the show, because I always felt it an honor. And whoever ran it, like, did I want to be in the main event? Absolutely. I was but I'm okay with doing business. I'm okay with that. And I struggled with the whole insecurity of, am I put on first because they don't want to see me? Like, oh, good, we're done with him. Let's get rid of him. No, it's you open the show. You have a great energy and you open the show.
You set the tone.
You do. You set the tone. I remember, and the guys in the back will tell you, David Lawless especially, because we worked a bunch of matches. Sometimes I would come back in the locker room and I'm just crying because it's like, oh man, I screwed up this, I screwed up that. Shit, what do I do? You know? And Connor, the good man that he is, even before matches, I would always say, hey, realize why you did this. Remember, pro wrestling is still fun.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind. Go out there and have fun. And I'm gonna drop most or all the names from Rise because they're amazing people. Marcus especially, he would just say, you okay? You good? You good? And I'd sit there and I don't know how to describe going from me to Drake, but it's kind of like Dr. Jekyll drinking the potion and he's going, oh shit, I've made a horrible decision, and I would just sink on my little Foot Locker and say, oh gosh, what do I do? What do I do? I'm putting on my gear and I'm Drake. Let's go out and let's murder.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. Let's simulate murder. Okay. So getting from there, going out and being Drake Braddock for 10 minutes is awesome. Then I come back and I'm like, I hope they like me. Like it's really hard. It's really hard because you have to sort of be that character all the time, which yeah.
There's something to be said for I've experienced this with some performance things I've done myself and kind of identified this, and I know this is kind of an ongoing thing. So when you get to do professional wrestling, you've done, like you said, stage combat before. So you're kind of used to this, kind of getting, you talk about that transition to becoming Drake Braddock. You kind of said, I don't want to call it a high, but that there's no other better way for me to put it right now.
Yes.
You get this amped up, you get the adrenaline going, and then there's the you're done. And you're coming down from it. This seems to be amongst performers, especially, something that does contribute to all the bad things that go with depression and dependencies and things like that. Is that a part? Is part of that roller coaster kind of managing that as well on top of these other things?
Absolutely. When you go out and you are Puck for Midsummer Night's Dream, and you get to deliver, thou speakest the right. I am that merry wanderer of the night. I jest to Oberon, make him smile when I am fat and being fed horse beguile. I'm not going to say the whole damn thing, but well,
we'll do a very special episode for that. Yes,
we will do a very special Midsummer Night's Dream episode of Indy Mayhem show.
Mm-hmm.
So you are waxing poetics as a character, and like this is and when you are embodying a character and then you take that character off, it's like, who's more interesting, me or Drake?
Mm-hmm.
And you almost have, it's kind of weird sense of method acting where you almost have to mesh them together because they're one and the same. Drake is just an amplified version of me. As I walk to restaurants or something, or when we could walk to restaurants, but there was, I think it was at a Moe's or something, and I was walking, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get some food, yeah. And the store manager came up and was like, hey, aren't you? And I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, I recognize the walk, and I'm like, oh yeah, thanks, And it's weird and humbling, but like, going back to what you said, you always want your character to, and you want yourself and your character to always have that sort of curtain there that can be opened and closed at any time, because if if I was Drake 24/7, I would have thrown myself off a bridge a long time ago because I'd be too intense. I'm like, it's weird to watch. I have a hard time watching my matches because I'm like, he's there and I'm here, and it's very weird, you know. But where was I? Yeah, as far as the depression, yeah, you take off that character and what's left?
Mm-hmm.
What's left from there? And you have guys who decide, hey, you know, I did a good job. I'm going to have a beer or two or three or four or some shots and such. And it can lead to that. Or, man, that was a great match. It was awesome. I don't feel so good. I'll take a few ibuprofen. I'll take a few Percocets. I'll take just a few of these pain pills, you know. And there's a sort of, how do I say this? But there's a sort of substance abuse that projects in pro wrestling, where you have that stage high. It's I don't know what else to call it, but that stage health where you could be. And I would describe this as my first match. You could be working a Starbucks from 6 a.m. till 4 p.m., teach your martial arts classes from 4:30 to 7:30, go to the restaurant you work at as the doorman from 8 o'clock till 3 a.m., maybe get a couple hours of sleep, wake up, teach from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m., drive down to PW, and then wrestle your first match. Yeah. So you get in the ring, you're like, yeah, I could do this, and you come back from the locker room like, holy shit, you know, it's you don't stop, you know, and but those moments you stop and you're sort of in the sensory deprivation chamber, and it's just you and your thoughts, you know. It's like sometimes you say like, hey, did you do good enough? Are you good enough? I don't think you're good enough. You know, maybe you should just hang it up right now, because that really wasn't as good as the booker wanted you.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you're opening the show. You know, that's all it is. And there's a lot of fake feelings there, and I think a lot of wrestlers struggle with those things, those insecurities, because I'm gonna dive deeper into like love languages. I think every pro wrestler's love language, whether they believe it or not, is they give acts of service and they want to receive affirmation. These guys are putting their bodies on the line every single day. I'm gonna put myself through these thumbtacks. It's gonna be awesome. The crowd's gonna love it. The crowd's gonna love me for putting all these thumbtacks in my back. Yay! You know, and it's like, sometimes you put in the thumbtacks and it's like people are sitting on their hands, and you're going, why? What's that next crazy thing I have to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where a lot of, yeah, absolutely. It's a drug. And if it's not one drug of pro wrestling, it becomes another drug and another drug and another drug, you know? And
so
God bless it, I've never had an addictive personality where, you know, I never really struggled a lot with alcohol or pills or anything. You know, it's always been just me and my thoughts, you know?
So I want to get to kind of the fan reactions and things like that, because I think that lends into the story from a couple weeks ago we mentioned at the top of the show. But Bradley's actually out there, not a wrestler, but a very avid wrestling fan.
A very avid
you could say a fairly energetic wrestling fan.
I really think he's indifferent.
Yeah. But he's talking about he had a job, terrible management for years, underpaid, disregarded. I know, you know, I had conversations. He struggled with this for a good long time. The board tried to find a job, couldn't. He kept failing. Finally, the board of directors that owns them totally changed management. Has a great boss now, trying to recover from the COVID situation, but much more comfortable to be there. Like it's a night and day thing. You talked about Rise and kind of manage, like, you know, it's a great environment you have people on top with Brandon and Marcus, and the rest of the agents there that are really kind of like you can just feel the positivity when you walk backstage there. I know that.
Absolutely.
Versus, and I know different places are probably different vibes, whatever those may be over the years. Can you talk about a little bit how that lends towards that kind of situation too?
As far as repeat the question one more time. I'm sorry.
So, the influence of kind of the management and the vibe of the locker room.
Yeah. I will say this from the bottom of my heart. Brandon's like my dad. He will always, like, it's always those days where I'm like, Brandon, I don't know what to do. He's like, shut up, you're fine. Like, you're fine, man. And when you can hear, I call him Sensei all the time because he's always teaching me something new every day. But when you kind of hear him say, "Hey, I was just like you. You remind me a lot of you," and I'm sure he said that to a lot of guys. And, but I feel like when you have that locker room who totally understands who their people are, when you have a job that totally understands, like, look, these guys are just starting out, or some of these guys, they've been around for a very long time. If you can just be kind for that one day of work, and just keep doing it every single day, and just keep chalking up those kind days, where you go in the locker room, you say hi to everyone, and it's so simple. It's so damn simple of just being nice, being respectful. It really brings the room together when you have good people who just they want to have a good show. It's not about egos or anything. It's like it is about the show. It is about the players. It's about the stars. It's about your stage and your audience. And unfortunately, we lost that stage, but it's always going to be around. It's always going to be around. Yeah. Sorry. Sometimes I don't derail. Sometimes the train just kind of goes stop.
No,
right
it's
there.
fine. I mean, it's forgiven. It's a heavy topic, understandably, with everything. I mean, this is something that you've seriously battled with. I do want to touch on, you talked about the fans, and we did talk about the unfortunate passing of Hana Kimura in Japan. It was an unfortunate suicide incident, led on from all points from cyberbullying that she was handling. And this is, people at different levels and different, all over the place of awareness of people and getting targeted. Have you ever had to deal with that kind of cyberbullying thing at some point, seeing somebody who has in the business? This has become an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Granted, I will not be the person who says, like, oh, I get a bad reaction or whatnot. I'm the guy who gets no reaction, which part of me is okay with. Because there's a lot more talented people than me out there who will probably get the haters gonna hate sort of thing. As far as cyberbullying, I would say outside of wrestling, absolutely. Like, I have students. This has nothing to do with wrestling, but I have students who come up to me and say, "Sabo Nim, I need help. Like, I need help with this. I have really bad anxiety because I have some things I want to say, but I just don't know how to say them." And I was like, "Look, you can ruin your career in 140 characters or less. You can ruin friendships in 140 characters or less."
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I've dealt with a few cases of cyberbullying. I've said some things and it was taken the wrong way. I won't get into it, but when I read the post, I went, "Wow, that's really hurtful." So I confronted the person and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to." And they said, "Good. I'm glad you're sorry. I don't want anything to do with you anymore." I understand. I'll give you your space, which is hard too because they were a really good friend, and sometimes the wrong thing is said, and you just kind of have to deal with those consequences. But yeah, it's really it's hard to not just with everything's going on, but it's really hard to see really good people get picked on by people who have no idea who these amazing wrestlers are. Like the one guy that, if I could go through the roster of amazing people who are probably struggling right now, I would probably say PB Smooth. I see him all the time posting something that's positive. I know he has the air bike fund for our buddy Duders there, and I'm plugging that. Please check that out. It's going to happen soon. I need to get my photo up of that. And but I think because he's a wrestler of color, and with what's going on in the world right now, I'm sure there's a lot of, I wouldn't even say bullying right now, but I can see him standing up for himself. And I've had some, I've reached out to him a few times. I hoped he was okay, because like we have so much protesting and so much negativity going on. But I always see him working out. Like, hey, I built my own gym. Like, that's holy shit, man. Yeah, keep doing it. I just kind of like, once in a while I was like, hey man, good shit. Like, yeah, awesome. I haven't been much right now because I've just been we went green, and I'm going back to work. So, but yeah, is cyberbullying an issue? I think bullying right now is an issue. It's a big issue. It's not just on a computer. It's happening now. And there's people who are up in arms about it, literally. Like,
yeah. It's not treating people well in the long run.
No.
People
just need to be kind. Be kind. Like, I heard this today, and it was amazing. Just to tap on what's happening presently. For someone to say racism is inherited as BS, you can only learn to be a bigot. You can only learn to be separating yourself from another race. To say you are superior to someone because of the color of their skin is just, pardon my French, it's fucking stupid. It's really stupid. We're all one race. This is not my words. I don't know who it was. It was Jason Momoa's post on Instagram, but she said it far better than I did. But like, we're all one race. We're all one race of people, and we need to keep it that way. And for someone to have separated us into 6 or 7 races, that's insane. That's insane. But then again, I wish I could be in the shoes of other people of color. I can't. It's weird to say, like, I wish I could stand up for them, but I want to do it there. I want to do it appropriately. I want to ask them, how can I do this? How can I help out?
Yeah.
And the thing I'm doing right now is just, I'm being kind. I'm trying to be positive, and that's really all I have right now as far as the bullying. Sorry, we went from the train has now derailed, fallen off into the bridge, went into the river, went down into the cul-de-sac onto another track that's in the middle of suburbia. So
that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Hey,
yeah.
It's things that need to be said, right?
Absolutely.
Is there any last minute for anybody dealing with depression, anybody dealing with the depression, the anxiety around wrestling, around just say trying to accomplish things that can maybe translate to anybody else that's not in the ring per se that might be listening to this? Do you have any last words of wisdom to help them through?
Yes. I'm going to do my best to make them my own words, but part of them is going to be something that someone told me, and something that I always tell myself. And Uh, every time you wake up, make your bed, because you're going to accomplish the first task of the day. And that's going to help you accomplish another task and another task and another task. And for the wrestlers out there who, you have your persona, your day job, for those 10 minutes, 10 to 15, 20 minutes, or if you're Lee Moriarty, for those 60 to 80 minutes you are in the ring, go and be that goddamn best wrestler you can be. Go and be that most amplified person you can be. And when you are done, enjoy it, reap it, and then the next day, you're at day zero. Treat every day like it's day zero. Because if you keep looking back, then you're not going to get anywhere, right? So always treat every day like day zero, because eventually those days will run out. Day zero is a term my drill sergeant said, because there's no such thing as day one. It's always going to be day zero. And once you finish one day, you get to be better. And then you get to start a new day as that better person. You get to start another day, another day, another day, another day. I didn't rehearse that. I love wrestling and I miss it. And I miss some of my friends, and I hope they're doing well. I really hope they're doing well. I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. PB, Matt Connor, Chris LaRusso. I'm dropping so many names. Badger, Tatiana Rose, Lola Bradbury, Marcus Mann, Brandon Kay. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't be here without you guys.
Awesome.
There's so many more, but we're short on time. But.
We're fine. We're fine. It's a podcast. We got a block. We got a block and a half.
Can we talk about Henry Rollins for another hour? How about that?
That was part of the pitch. And we'll talk about Henry Rollins.
We'll talk about Henry Rollins. Yeah. The iron never lies. That was like another part of it. Like when he talks about the iron never lies, those 200 pounds never lie. Like
Wait, so explain this to me. So what the iron never lies? Are we talking about weights? Are we what are we?
Henry Rollins. It was a poem, but it was along the lines of people said people can say things to you, people can hurt you, but like the iron never lies. The iron. I don't know the exact quote, but 200 pounds will always be 200 pounds, and the iron never lies. And that's going to help you get stronger. Henry Rollins, I don't know. I can't cite my sources right now with my hands, but yes, that's another great quote by him. The iron never lies.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Drake. It's been great to follow. I'm glad you've been able to.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
I'm glad you've been able to participate in the show here in your time off, because you have so much time to. Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Thank you so much for this. Again, if people want to, do you mind people reaching out to you on social media?
What's that?
You mind people reaching out to you on social media if they want to chat?
Please reach out to me. Message me. My door is open. I teach. I'm a teacher at heart, because I just want to make people feel better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to me. Message me. Dojang Pirate at Instagram. It's me and Drake at the same time. My kid is on there. My dog is on there. My wife is on there. Like, yeah, absolutely. Messenger, Facebook, Twitter. I was on it for a 12 seconds, and I was going to change my photo, and then I saw a kitty, and I forgot what I was doing. So, yeah, I'm on Twitter. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We cover them all. I need to get Twitch. I need to get TikTok. Right? Is that a thing now?
Just how's your dancing? How's your dancing?
How's my dancing? I am actually a really good bachata dancer.
Okay. So, yeah. You're gonna do well. Do that. Also, hit up the Rev, Ron Hunt, for tips on TikTok, because he's been doing insane on there. Man. Just download just to see what he's up to.
The Rev, and I always see Jackson Argos posting stuff where he did like comparison shots of his Sports Illustrated.
Yes.
Photos with the bottles. And I'm like, holy.
Yeah, he did.
I was dying.
He did the. He was mimicking the WWE Divas swimsuit edition, I believe. So it's like him doing Lita's pose, Trish Stratus's pose, and like down the line, basically. Yeah. It's pretty fantastic.
That is something I tell, like, because there's younger guys who are doing far better than I am, and I'm like, hey guys, I message them like, hey, keep doing what you're doing. It's like, oh, thanks, man. I'm like, no, really, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a far better job than me. Please keep doing it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, Drake. Go follow him. Thank you, everybody. And please, if you're running into issues, especially with things going on, please speak up, talk to somebody, put a tweet out, whatever the case may be. You never know, and hopefully everybody is doing well out there. Thank you so much. I know a lot of crazy,
have a good one.
A lot of craziness happening going on right now. Please check out things at IndyWrestling.us. We got Rise Wrestling, and actually Drake. Here's a plug. Because Drake is involved in the Rise Wrestling Fire Pro Series that's
right.
happening on
That's
the Patreon.
Right. Tyler Klein, I'm coming for you, bud.
That's right. That is, I believe...
You nervous, Tyler? You should be.
I believe that is exclusive to the Rise Wrestling Patreon page, but there is a fantastic trailer with an 8-bit version of the introduction to Rise. That's fantastic.
It's amazing.
I love it.
Please check it out.
I love
Fire
it.
for Wrestling S. Please check it out.
The crew behind the scenes there at Rise that put that thing together is just amazing. I love it. Love it. So there's a lot of great stuff happening, even though a lot of people can't get in the ring, or at least in the ring around fans. So please look out for it, and please continue to support indie wrestling. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one, y'all.